So we've just seen Tyrande deal with Nathanos Blightcaller quite easily in the most recent duel. Surprisingly enough, the combat gave off the Sylvanas Sourfang duel vibes in terms of just sheer hopelessness for the losing party. Tyrande has always been powerful, but most recently she became the Night Warrior, which I feel like is going to be a lot bigger concept in the Shadowlands than we had ever actually believed. So let's talk about what is the Night Warrior and why I believe this power is a lot more important than we thought previously during Battle for Azeroth. Brought to you by Gamivo.com. Pre-order Shadowlands and get cheaper game time with various offers available. Make sure to click my link in the description and use code DORON to get 3% off. To start off, Tyrande has always been quite powerful, there is no doubt about that. She is literally one of the oldest beings on all of Azeroth and the High Priestess that participated in almost everything from the War of the Ancients and the Sundering 10,000 years ago up to the current events and the most recent countless wars. Her first more prominent role within the past few decades was during Warcraft 3 and subsequently in leading the Kaldari, connecting them with the Alliance forces and keeping their ground amidst the arising Horde expansion. Tyrande was always tough as she had the guidance of Elune, and we had seen her before doing some quite crazy stuff, turning the tide of battle many times with just moon power shooting out of everywhere. However, she never really gave off an impression that she was that much of a powerhouse. Most of us saw Tyrande as powerful as a figure and one of the most important Night Elves with a lot of political power, but not one of the strongest beings on Azeroth as an individual. This was even kind of confirmed when she failed in defeating Sylvanas and protecting Feldersil, as we all know what happened. Well, a lot of that changed a bit after that event as Tyrande got really pissed off. She decided to undergo the ritual of becoming the avatar of the Night Warrior. To put it simply, the Night Warrior is the living incarnation of Elune's wrath. You might be thinking, okay, really a big deal, we don't even know who Elune is, there are a ton of empowered warriors across all of Azeroth, and that does make a lot of sense. However, recently there has been a lot of speculation and hints within the Shadowlands that we might finally be learning more about the Moon Goddess and who she actually is. First, big spoiler information is that the Night Warrior is not just tied to Azeroth and that there have been other Night Warriors from other planets across the universe, and we will actually be meeting some of them within the Shadowlands. If this doesn't ring a bell, this is a huge deal, as it means that Elune isn't a Loa, a wild god or some local deity that the Night Elves worship, but a goddess worshipped across the entire universe. Now, due to the nature of her power, as we have seen Elune wielding almost every form of magic across the cosmology chart, this has led a lot of us to speculate that Elune could in fact be a first one. At the moment, we know nothing about him, but the first ones are thought to be like the first deities that predate the Titans and even the Eternal Ones. The Eternal Ones are the pantheon of death or the leaders of the Shadowlands. There is about approximately zero concrete information right now on who the first ones are, but I have a feeling that they're just gonna be a huge deal and that they're going to be what we once believed the Titans to be, gods on a scale that a mortal couldn't even imagine. Now, if the theory is true and Elune is in fact the first one, this would mean that the Night Warrior is a million times more potent than anything we had ever seen before. In fact, there is even a bit more spoiler information from the Shadowlands as we learn that the first known Night Warrior was Tyrande that lived on the planet of Physandi, as the planet was about to be lost to the Old God invasion, no doubt planned by the Void Lords in what was known as the Endless War. Early in the conflict, as this was a multi-generational conflict, another person attempted to use the form of the Night Warrior but was killed by the sheer power of Elune, and Tyrande managed to finally obtain it and to defeat the Old God and to ultimately end this war. The power was so insane, however, and he had to share it with his husband named Kadrin, and even that wasn't enough and both were killed by Elune, but ultimately at least they managed to save the world. So yeah, this definitely shows you how insane the Night Warrior form actually is. Before, we believed it was like Demon Hunter version 2, like wow, slightly empowered priestess. If two very powerful people that controlled an entire planet couldn't contain it, and it could be used to supposedly single-handedly defeat an old god, yeah, that means it is quite different. Now, there is also a rumor that the Night Elves initially used this form, which is how they managed to carve out their initial empire, which if you look at the map is surprisingly gigantic and essentially spanned across almost all of Azeroth. However, at the moment that knowledge seems to have been forgotten, or at least we're gonna learn about it in the future, possibly. So the most recent use of the Night Warrior form was by Tyrande, and if we take what we know right now as serious, she could literally be enhanced by possibly the most powerful entity in the universe, a first one. This effectively means that Sylvanas and her jailer powers are literally laughable in comparison, and the Tyrande is going to be a really big deal. Additionally, this could also lead us to a really interesting storyline where Sylvanas and Tyrande finally face off. Two rivals, the one that destroyed Eldersil, the one that defended it, and most importantly, the jailer versus Elune, which is quite literally the clash of titans. Thank you for watching. Check out the review of free get out and Shadowlands by clicking on the screen, and also check out the second channel, Doronsmovies Academy, for videos on real world history and science. See you next time.